All right, here's your second video. Adding and subtracting polynomials, or adding and subtracting functions. What you have to remember when you're adding and subtracting is you count how many of anything you have. Okay? Sorry if you can hear things. My neighbors are having a party. I wasn't invited. Okay, so when you count how many you have, you can count apples. You know, I've got 5 apples, or let's say 3, because this is my apple. There's an apple. There's 3 apples. And then let's say we want to add to it lamps. I am a very good Pictionary player. Okay, so, and I have 4 lamps. How many do I have? That's like asking, that's a crazy question right there. I have 3 apples and 4 lamps. So what do I have? I have 3 apples and 4 lamps. There's just no other way to go around it. So that's what you have to remember. Or let's say I want to subtract. I have 3 apples and I want to subtract 4 lamps. It doesn't even make a remote amount of sense. Well, that's the same thing as if we have X's and Y's. And Z's and A's and B's and whatever. You always have to combine like terms. So like terms have the same variable, or variables depending on how many you have, and the same exponents on those variables. Okay, so if you have x squared y and xy squared, these are not like terms. Because this is an x, and there's a 2 on the x, and this x does not have a 2. So just be careful and just watch what's happening. So we also do things like combining like terms. So you just have to know a few basic ideas. When you combine like terms, that just means add or subtract. The coefficients. So that means the numbers up in front. Coefficient. Okay, standard form. The standard form talks about the degree. Okay, the standard form means it goes from highest degree to lowest degree. Okay, so that's standard form. So if you look over here, move this guy over, highest degree to lowest degree. So if you look at these, this 7x squared, the squared here, and that's the degree I'm talking about, the squared is the highest. It should be first if this was in standard position. So that's all that means. It should go from highest exponent to lowest exponent. That's what standard form is. Okay, so if we were to add these, I do like to put them in standard form. So it's 7x squared would go first, and then the next one would be plus 4x. Notice there was no plus sign here, but I put a plus sign here because 4 is positive. And so we're going to add plus 2, and I like to line these guys up with what is the like terms for there. Yeah, I speak English. Okay, so I line up the like terms, x squareds. Why isn't it? Oh, x squareds are like terms, x, and just plain old numbers. So the coefficients in front, this -7 and 2, combining these mean I just do -7 plus 2. So -7 plus 2 is -5 x squared. So I had -7x squareds here. Oh my god, I hate this. I have -7x, oh look, x squared here. I'm adding 2 to them. So now I have -5. So same thing here. I have 4 x's and 2 x's. So if I add them all together, now I have 6 x's. Notice the exponents don't change for any of these kinds of things. It's just adding them. You add those coefficients. You're determining how many of those you have. Okay? So over here, if we look, the degree of a polynomial is the highest exponent. Okay, exponent, the highest exponent that you have. Now, sometimes you may have to add exponents together if there's different variables. Like if you have x squared, oh, that's y squared, and z, that would be degree 3 here, because 2 plus 1, this 2 here, and this 1 here, you add them together, that would be a degree of 3. So you do have to take into consideration all the variables that might be involved. Okay, leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the coefficient or the number. Okay, coefficient just means number. That's on the highest degree. Okay, that's on the term with the highest degree. So if you look over here, this is the highest degree because it was first. We put it in standard form. The coefficient is this -5. That's the leading coefficient. Oh, sorry, it would be -5. So the degree of this one would be 2, and -5 would be the leading coefficient. So it's the number, so on the highest degree term. Other words that mean add are sum, plus, combine, things like that. I can't think of any others. If you can, let me know. Okay, subtracting. This one actually uses the word subtract from. So when you subtract from, whatever comes after the from goes first. Okay, so whatever comes right here, right after the word from, is going to be first, and then whatever goes next, that goes second. And what we do when we subtract, we do what I like to say is keep, change. Yeah, I make it really big, okay? You keep the first thing the same, you change subtraction to addition, and then you change the signs of everything in the second polynomial or function. Okay, so if we come over here, subtract from f of x. So f of x comes right after the from, so that goes first. And again, just like the one up above, I am going to put it in standard form. So I did not put it in standard form there. Shh. We got this. Negative 3x to the fourth minus 8x cubed plus 6. That's standard form. Okay, that goes first. That's the keep. Okay, now we're subtracting. We don't actually show this part, but now we're just going to switch it to adding. That's what the second change is about. Change it to an adding problem. And then the second big change means change the sign of every single term here. So this is a positive 3x to the fourth, so I'm going to make it a negative 3x to the fourth. We're changing every sign. Negative 3x cubed, positive, oh, not 3x, just x cubed, positive x cubed, and 5 becomes a negative 5. And then we just add like we did on the top one. Negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 8n, remember there's a 1 there. And a positive 1 is negative 7. And 6 minus 5 is 1. Okay, so you remember other words that mean subtract would be minus, difference. So those are other words that mean subtract. All right, so last example here, just so you have an example of a crazy question like this. First thing is don't freak out. Just let it happen. Okay, notice that there's plus signs and minus signs in the different parts. Okay, but this minus sign only goes to what comes next. So this is the only thing that's being subtracted. And we have to make sure we line up the right terms. So you know what? Why don't you try this one? And then I'm going to do it for you. Okay, so all right, so here's the setup, just So hopefully you got there. And then I'll just add them up really quick. The setup here is the 2x squared y cubed. These two, this one and this one, go here. Notice this one's sign got changed because it is part of the subtraction. Okay. This negative 3 here came from this positive 3 here. I wanted to line it up. And then this one didn't really have a spot, so I had to throw it off to the side because it didn't belong underneath any of these because it has an x cubed and a y squared, and I don't have that. But notice on this whole, each one of these second polynomial here, I changed the signs. They were all positive, now they're all negative. Okay, the signs inside of the parentheses are the ones that matter. This one is just telling us to subtract. Okay, now I'm adding these, so I just have to line this one, and this one up underneath a like term if it has any. So here's a like term for the first one, 2x cubed y squared, and a like term for the second one. So when I add those up, I have this goes away because it's a positive 1 and a negative 1. That's 0. This is positive 2 and a negative 2. Again, another 0. Negative 3, that is negative 6. And a negative 5 and a positive 2 is a negative 3 x cubed y squared. So the degree, this are the only two exponents we have here, so that's the highest one. So the degree here is 5 because you need to add the 3 and the 2 together to find a total degree for the problem. And then the leading coefficient would be what the coefficient that would go on that one, which would be negative 3. So yeah.